There you go.
Okay, today the session, we've just had the basic orientation the other day, and we just seen the comparison and the movement from Excel to R programming. Today, I want to talk about data cleansing in R. When we get the data in an Excel format, what are the different packages we use to actually, what are the challenges we face with the data, first of all, because cleansing is a very challenging task. And it consumes at least about 80% of our time is consumed and in this data wrangling and data cleansing task. So let's have a look at different packages that simplify our work of cleansing data. And let's just have a look at the different challenges that we get with the data that we have to hand. Let's look into a PowerPoint presentation before we do the same thing in our programming. So we have different packages in R that actually do this for us. DPLWire package was an initial package, and now that's actually developed into DPLWire, but I'm just trying to show where the evolution actually happened and where we've transformed that from way to way. Now, this package will help to split big data structures, big data, into homogeneous groups. So some data that I'm looking for very similar format and structure, I could bring that up using this package when I download it into R. And then we can apply a function to each of the piece, and we're going to look at the different functions we will apply, like the sort, aggregate function and stuff like that. And then bring all of that data into one area that we need to actually go ahead and do our task with. We could also use the sorting function. This function will help us to subset and transform and do a lot of ascending, descending sorting of the data that we need to do and reorder the data. So the function for this is sort, and we will look into that. I think the Data.table package has the sort function, and we will look into that in a little while. Now, randomizing order. Now, what we do with R is, when I pick a sample from a population, I do a random sample. I never pick a sample as per my choice because I've got to be very unbiased. I can't be biased when I pick a sample. I just program a command to pick a sample from the population, and it's got to be randomized. So when R actually goes and picks the sample for us, it either picks it from a uniform distribution or any kind of distribution. The data is just lying there. I don't want to go into jargon of uniform, binomial, and normal. We will cover that. But when I'm using the word sample, when I pick data, at no second time when I want to pick another sample, will I get the same sample that I picked the first time. So what we do is, we set seed. We give a command wherein we want the same sample because we felt that very accurate, which represents the population. So the command to pick data or a sample is runIf command from a uniform distribution and from a normal distribution. And we will look into that in the next session, not in this session. Today, I'm going to cover basic things to do with the data cleansing packages. Okay. From a uniform distribution, I'm going to do this in programming the next session so that you understand that quite better. Now, also, when I want to cleanse data, I convert a numeric variable to a factor variable, a numeric to a character variable, a character to a numeric, and these kind of conversions have to happen because few of the algorithms want these conversions to happen because they can only work with factors or characters or numeric. So we will see this too in the next session, how the conversion happens, and the commands I use is as.character, as.factor, and we will see this too in the next session. Now, finding and removing duplicate records, the function will be unique for extracting unique, and the function will be duplicate for identifying duplicate elements. In my data, a lot of my data may have missing values, which is called NA. And today we're going to also look at how we find those missing values. I'm not going to look into how we replace missing values today, but I'm just going to find the missing values, and I'm going to show the commands for that too. Restructuring data. Whether we want to restructure the data in a data frame format or in a vector format, that is wide format to long format or long format to wide format, that is reshaping the data. And we will cover that too in today's class, seeing the different commands that we use and the packages that we're going to use for that. We will use two commands called gather and spread to reshape from long to wide or wide to long format. Okay, so let me just go ahead and show you a few packages. The first packages I'm going to cover today will be the DPLWire package. It has 5 major data manipulations commands like the select command, the arrange, the mutate, the filter, and the summarize command. And let's have a look at these commands in R. So I'm asking R to bring the library dplyr, and I'm taking an inbuilt data set called empty cars, which is inbuilt data set in R, and I'm going to execute these 5 commands that we've just seen. So my empty cars data set has 32 observations, which is the rows, and 11 variables, which is the column headers. Now I'm going to use the filter command as we've seen from the dplyr package, as we were seeing that here. And let me execute this command. I'm saying from the empty cars package, I want cylinder value greater than 3 and gears greater than 3, and give me only the output of those observed values. And it's doing that for me there. It's giving me the output. So all of my data, which is 32 observations, have cylinder value greater than 3. But if I also want gear greater than 3, I just get very few in number. I get only 17 observations that have that. I'm using the select command, and from the empty cars, I want the only cylinder values for each of the observations. I don't want all my 11 variables. I want only one variable. And in this command, I'm telling R, from the empty cars data set, I've put a minus sign here, which means don't give me the cylinders and the mileage. Just give me anything apart from these 2 observations, and gives me everything else. I've done some chaining and piping, which is like multiple commands in one, multiple options that I'm trying to say in one command. So I use the piping symbol for that. That's when I perform multiple operations using the select and the filter commands, which I've just showed you here. I've used the filter and the select. I've used both of those operations in one using the piping symbol, chaining and piping. I'm going to arrange and reorder, and I'm arranging them by the gear. And it executes that for me. I want to create a new variable, which is called mpg cylinder. And I do that using the mutate command here. And I've created a new variable. Okay, so those were the 5 different commands for the dplyr package. Now let's go to the next package and what it does for us. The next package is Data.table package. And what this package does is it's helpful for faster manipulation of data, and it has lots of functions inbuilt for subsetting rows and columns. And it actually does this in 3 parts, and that can be read as I, J, pi, which means we just instruct R to subset rows using I, to calculate J, which is grouped by, and let's see how that works. So what am I doing here? I load the library, Data.table. I'm using the same data set, empty cars. Okay. And I want to subset rows and select 3rd to 5th row only. So what I've done is I'm subsetting only the 3rd to 5th row. Oh, sorry. Okay, fine. It gives me only the 3rd to 5th rows. I want to select a column with particular values. And I want to select a column with multiple values for the car column. Okay. Then I also want to do a sum of the selected columns. Give me the sum of the total of this MPG column. I also want the sum and standard deviation. It will do that for me. If you want to group by variable, it will do that for me. The K was, so it actually, what it was doing was, it is subsetting the rows using some function there and is calculating the sum or the standard deviation of that row, that column that I actually wanted something for, right? So that is what the Data.table package does for us. If we take the Reshape 2 package, what it does is it uses the melt and the cast function, as you were talking of the wide format to long format and the long format to wide format, which is like nothing but a data frame format or a vector matrix format. So this is the package that does that for us. Melt function will convert data from wide format to long format, and the cast function will change from long format to wide format. So that is when the melt function will return a data frame, and the cast function will actually return a vector or a matrix or an array or an output. We haven't studied data objects in R. Vector, matrices, data frames are objects in R, and we will cover that when we do basic R, which we haven't started. I will endeavor to do that in not the next session, but the session after that. So let's have a look at these functions too. I've installed the package Reshape, and I'm going to use the same data set. Oh, I actually created a data frame here. So I've created a small data frame with name, age, subject, not much of content in it, a very small data frame. And I'm going to do the cast and melt function on this data frame. Data.table command, okay. Okay, this is my data frame with ID, names, age, and subject. I'm going to use the melt function. And I'm getting the output. I'm going to use the cast function and also get the output. Okay. Then let's cover the last and final package, which is the Tidyr. There are many more packages. I've also done another package, but we'll cover that too. The last is there are many more packages that we use in R, but each of these packages have these main functions. Tidyr has the gather, the spread, the separate, and the unite function. Gather function gathers multiple columns and then converts them into key value pairs. So it converts wide data to long format, just like the Reshape2 package. The spread converts key value pairs and converts them into separate columns using the, which is inverse of the gather function using the spread. Separate command splits columns into multiple columns. And this function actually comes into use when we have the date and time variables inbuilt in them. And unite unites multiple columns into a single column. Let's have a look at these functions too. So this too, I've actually created a data frame. And I'm using the gather function first to gather the key value for the temperature and rain columns only. Then I'm using the separate function and separating the time by date, month, and year. So date, month, and year, which was actually combined here. Date, month, and year was combined, but I've separated that. And I'm going to unite that again. Again, I've got that united here. So this function is mostly, this package is used for numeric values where there is a lot of date and time in them. And I've used the spread command again. Okay, so I also wanted to cover something on missing values that we've not covered here, and we're going to do that here. There is another package called, there are multiple packages in R, obviously. There is another package called string R package. I've gone ahead and installed that package. Okay, and using this package, what I've done is I've just explored data using this package, and let me just look what I've explored. I've created a data frame first of all, and I'm just checking the class of the data frame. Dimensions, I've just got 5 rows and 4 columns. The summary, I'm getting my summary. I'm not going to discuss that. I've constructed a box plot for visualization. It looks fine to me, wherein I didn't need to construct it for ID and names. It was only for the age. And I'm correcting the errors. Rename column with names. So the column that had first names, I've replaced that with name. Names has been replaced with first name, the column. Converting column names from one class to another class. So we were talking of the as character, as numeric, and stuff like that. Other classes of converting, and I'll cover this in lengthier format in the next session, as numeric, as integer. I don't want to cover that now. Making into upper class for the names column, I've made them uppercase when they were lowercase here, and I'm going to convert them into lowercase back again. And I'm going to replace one name which is James with John. With John, right? No, it didn't replace. Okay. James with John. Data names. Okay, I think that's right. Error in string replace. Data names could not find function string replace. Yeah, it is string replace. Data names. I just have to check this and come back to you. Let me do that in a little while. Go ahead with the remaining stuff. Okay. Okay. Check for missing values. In the entire frame, how do I check for missing values? That's a command. There is no missing value. Total number of missing values, I say sum is an A. There is no missing value. If I want to check for missing values in a particular column, I say sum is an A and give the name of the column. I will say there's nothing. Removing a missing value, because there's nothing anywhere in this data set, is not going to remove anything. Everything is fine. And when I want to replace a missing value either with a 0 or a mean, this is the command I do. Replacing NA values, which is missing value, with a median, this is the command I give. With a mean or a median or anything, replace the missing. But here there is no missing value, so it doesn't have to replace anything. So these are the different packages that we use in R for actually manipulating or wrangling data. There are many more packages, but I've just showed you a few of them and how the command is actually written. The few commands that I've actually not showed, like replacing a value, replacing one name with the other, and I'm going to do that for you in the next session. I just have to look at the syntax and come back to you, which I'll do. Apart from that, I think, we've covered the 4 main different packages, which I was going to do: DPLWire, Data.table, Reshape, Tidyr, and we also did the string R package, wherein they have each of their different functions that each of these packages do support. In the next session, I will, however, want to do conversions from factor to numeric, numeric to integer, and stuff like that, using and also run unif commands, getting random data. How do we do that? And set seed to data and stuff like that. I think, I'll end the session here for today, and we'll cover the next in the next session. Any questions, please? Hello?
Prema, none from my side. Just a quick thing. While you were doing this string replace, I thought, let me check Google. I found a thing, but it looks almost like what you were doing, string underscore replace. So something could have been there. But I mean, as I saw it, I think a lot that I saw to begin with, and the exercise of cars felt relevant, and how you have different functions. So got the basic, but kind of nothing registered immediately. Maybe as we keep practicing on different projects, it'll help us maybe. How do we get hands-on with smaller exercises where I can only do 2-3 commands and then look at a data set which has got maybe 3-4 columns and 10 rows? How do I start more simple and keep things Otherwise, it is kind of little scary if I look at
Okay.
it.
Yeah, this needs a lot of practice. So, that's the reason I've tried to break this, and I'm doing every practice after every theory explained, so that even if it's not immediately registering to mind, eventually it will. I mean, nothing just happens like that for any of us. Even for me, it really took me a lot of time to actually see
Sure.
which package has which few commands, because each of the
Yeah.
packages have numerous commands. But what are the
Sure.
top
And
two
what
commands
I am
that
trying
package
to say,
have?
Prema, just
Which is,
letting you know, I think this is good to say the vastness of the tool. Okay.
yeah,
Let's assume like this. All right.
yeah,
Um, like how do I put it? When I walk into a huge area,
yeah,
I will first take a seat and be comfortable, and
yeah,
then try and explore everything around slowly. You see what I'm
sure.
saying? Maybe I'm visible, but I would first try and get my comfort.
Mhm.
So, is there a possibility that we could start with take a project like I was discussing with you? Here is
Yeah,
our simple data looks. Now here is the project requirement. Let us
yeah.
look at how we could do it in R.
Okay,
And am I making sense? Because for us to get there, I need to take my first step.
sure.
And the first step would be a simple example,
Yeah.
the
Now,
simplest.
if I had
Mhm,
to get a project, then I have to create a scenario, right? And the
mhm.
scenario I create may not be the right scenario. So if we could use inbuilt data sets that are there in R, it simplifies the work that we could do.
Yeah, but that is it. I don't have to know. Okay, it's like this. Let us say I buy a new car. I don't
Yeah.
need to know what's inside the engine or what's on my dashboard, all the features right away. I don't need to
Yes.
know how everything works right away. It'll take me 3, 4 days at
Yeah.
least. All I'm saying is, but I need to sit down and drive the car and feel it.
Yeah.
So rather than, I don't need to know everything. I need to know something to begin with, and that eventually may become everything.
Yeah.
So it's just that if I take an inbuilt, are there any other inbuilt data sets that we could look at?
There are plenty iris data set,
Because even before we started the example of the cars, it took me a while if it was a function or the name of that variable. I didn't know. So when you
Okay.
said a lot of things are still, this doesn't look English to me yet.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
have not registered anything. That's all I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm this is where we want to achieve. I mean, go to. This is what we want to do. This is great to look at. So the first step, library data attached. So data is, we selected data as empty
And what we
cars
do
here.
is we don't really go into the next session unless and until a practice and hands-on is put into this. Because, it does take the brain a little while to actually
How do
imbibe.
I start then hands-on? What's my first
I
step?
give all of this out. As I give the PPT out, I will give this out. And
That's
a
a bit boring.
hands-on has to happen.
Okay,
When I give
okay,
this out to you, this file will come as a dump. And when we just click on the dump, it will just
okay.
sit on your R programming like this in the same
So
structure.
first I need to install RStudio
Yes.
on our
I'm
machine.
going to,
So
I
here
endeavor
are
to
some
show you
instructions,
to
right?
install that in the
Uh-huh.
not the next class, but the class after that. Or the next session itself, we can actually get to downloading R and R Studio. So when I could just send this out, and it will just sit on your R Studio where you can just run the commands and feel
Okay,
them for yourselves.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
That sounds
We
good.
will do that. Yeah. In the next class,
Yes,
we'll do that, Karthik. Before we start the class, we'll do
sure.
that,
And
and
I'm
then
just
we'll
looking
go
at
ahead with
this
the session.
code, definitely. So this is the first, so data, then attach, and then we're starting to filter. So filter immediately filters and starts displaying, right?
Yes,
And
that's
our
right.
filters that we're saying is the number of car cylinders are greater than 3,
And the gear
and
is great.
number of gears are greater than 3 in the cars.
You're right.
M,
Yeah.
in the manual car, I don't know what empty cars are. So that's the first filter. So you can, so filter is one of the commands where we're
Yes.
looking at selective set of data. Then we have, just keep scrolling a little bit, few more lines for me, and then I think we're good. Then we have select. Prema, you there with me? I think I
Yes,
lost you.
I'm there, Karthik.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, if you can just scroll a
Oh
bit
no, I
more.
was there. I was always here. I think in between we have a little signal problem, but I think we're fine.
Uh,
You can hear me now, Karthik?
yes, please. Can you scroll a little bit more further? I just want to look at a little bit more code. Then we have select empty car cylinders. So it'll just display maybe all the cylinders. Keep going, please. Just want to look at the code once. It's making sense as we look at it second time, third time, and so on. Great. All right, I look forward for the next session, Prema.
Sure, Karthik. Okay.
Thank you.
I will
Any
start to
questions
you
from the
in
audience?
the session so practice can be done. Okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Quick questions, anyone from the audience? We'll see you back tomorrow then. Try
Okay.
and get through a little bit on this code, what we're trying to do, team, and maybe in a day or two we'll start doing hands-on. Great, see you all. Thank you, Prema.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.